Ladies and gentlemen, there is something powerful about the world when it is still sleeping. The sky is a gentle shade of blue. The streets are quiet. The birds sing as if they're whispering secrets to the ones who dare to wake up first. That moment before the chaos, before the calls, before the noise of the day belongs to you. Just you, and the ones who learn to rise early, learn to own this magical hour. You do not need to change your life overnight. You do not need to climb a mountain today. All you need to do is wake up a little earlier tomorrow. That is how everything changes. One quiet morning at a time. When you rise early, you rise before the world demands things from you. You rise before the expectations begin pulling at your sleeves. You rise to connect with your dreams, with your purpose, with your peace. When the world is asleep, your dreams are wide awake. That early hour is not just a gap in the day. It is a gift. There is no rush, no noise, no pressure. It is just you and your breath, you and your purpose, you and your thoughts. This is the time when the heart speaks clearly and the mind listens. The reason this time is so powerful is because it is empty of distractions. There are no notifications, no social media, no demands pulling you in 100 directions. There is just stillness, and in that stillness, clarity begins to grow. When you wake up early, you claim a part of the day that most people waste. It is the only time that truly belongs to you, not to your boss, not to your family, not to your responsibilities, just you. You own it. And when something belongs to you, you use it with care. You use it with love. This is the time when you write without judgment, when you plan with hope, when you pray with focus. It is the perfect moment to sit in silence and ask yourself, what do I truly want from life? What am I doing with my time? Am I heading in the right direction, or just running in circles? You cannot have these conversations with yourself during the chaos of the day. That is why people who rise early understand themselves better. They are not running blindly. They are walking with purpose. In these early hours, even the smallest actions carry weight. A 10-minute walk, a short meditation, writing down 3 goals. These are not small things. These are seeds. And when you plant seeds every single morning, you start to live differently. You start to notice progress. You start to build momentum. When you use these hours for yourself, your dreams stop feeling like distant wishes. They become plans, steps, systems. You are not waiting for a miracle. You are becoming the miracle. This time also helps you connect with your emotions. It is when you process pain, when you build strength, when you remember why you started. In the quiet, your heart becomes louder, and what the heart says in silence often leads you to the truth. You do not have to do everything at once. You do not have to become a new person overnight. All you need to do is give your dreams the first hour of your day, before anything else. Before the deadlines, before the outside world takes over. Waking up early is like opening a door before anyone else sees it. It leads you to calm, focus, and power. It gives you a head start, not on the world, but on yourself. And when you are one step ahead of your old self every day, that is what growth looks like. So do not treat this hour lightly. It is sacred. It is the birthplace of big things. Not because of what you do in it, but because of who you become through it. Wake up early, not because you must, but because you deserve to meet the version of you that only exists when everything else is quiet. The early morning hours hold a kind of magic that the rest of the day cannot compete with. Your mind is like a clean slate, untouched by the noise and stress that usually creeps in as the day unfolds. There is a calmness, a softness in the air that wraps itself around your thoughts and lets them breathe. And in that space, creativity starts to rise. Not the kind of creativity that feels forced or pressured, but the natural kind, the kind that flows when you're not trying too hard. In the quiet of the morning, your mind is most open. There are no leftover arguments, no traffic sounds, no urgent emails demanding your energy. It is just you, sitting with your thoughts, ideas, and imagination. You begin to feel things deeply. You begin to see things more clearly. Your ideas feel honest, unfiltered. And that's where creativity is born. In stillness, in peace, in silence. People think creativity comes from inspiration, but often it comes from space. Space to think, space to reflect, space to imagine. The early morning gives you that space without asking for anything in return. You are not being watched, judged, or rushed. You are simply allowed to be, and in that freedom, you begin to think differently. You connect dots you never saw before. You come up with solutions that were hiding under yesterday's noise. That is why so many artists, writers, thinkers, and leaders rise before the sun. Not because they are superhuman, but because they have learned that those first hours are when their minds are strongest. It is when their best ideas show up, uninvited, unforced, but always on time. There is no performance pressure. There is no need to impress. You are simply in flow, and that is when you do your best thinking. When your mind is fresh, it is more playful. It is more open to new possibilities. You are not limited by yesterday's failures or tomorrow's fears. You are simply present, and that present moment becomes a playground for ideas. You scribble in your journal, and suddenly you are planning your dream business. You go for a walk, and suddenly you find the answer to a problem that's been eating you up inside. These moments don't happen when you're busy reacting to life. They happen when you slow down enough to listen. And early morning is the only time most people actually listen to their intuition, to their purpose, to the voice inside that says, "This could be possible." That's why the early hours are the most creative. Not because you do more, but because you feel more. You understand more. You notice more. And that depth opens the door to ideas that are both honest and bold. The world will try to feed your brain all day. News, opinions, noise. But in the morning you get to decide what goes in. You get to plant your own thoughts before the world crowds them out. That's power. That's control. That's when creativity becomes a tool, not a mystery. It's not something you chase, it's something you welcome. And when you build that habit daily, even the simplest thoughts can turn into life-changing moves. You're not waiting for a spark, you become the spark. And everything that once felt unclear starts to form into something real, something true. Discipline has always been seen as something strict, something heavy. But when you look closely, you will see that real discipline leads to freedom. The kind of freedom that is not loud or wild, but steady and powerful. When you rise early, you are not just showing discipline, you are unlocking a kind of life where you are no longer bound by distractions, by pressure, or by your own excuses. You begin to act from a place of choice, not compulsion. That shift is where freedom begins. In the beginning, waking up early feels hard. It feels like a sacrifice. Your body wants more sleep. Your mind wants more comfort. But every time you overcome that resistance, even just for a few minutes, you are sending a message to yourself. You are in charge. You are deciding how your day begins, and that single decision breaks the pattern of laziness, of delay, of regret. That is what discipline truly is, a series of small decisions that lead to big change. People often say they want freedom, they want time, energy, space, but they forget that these things do not arrive by accident. They are created through routine, through habits, through discipline. Waking up early is one of the simplest and most powerful ways to start building that life. You are not waiting for the day to drag you forward. You are stepping into it with intention. You are owning it before it owns you. That early hour is quiet, but it is not empty. It is full of potential. You can read. You can pray. You can write. You can think. And the best part is you can do it without interruption. No phones ringing. No messages pinging. No demands pulling you in 5 directions. That kind of space is rare. And when you begin your day inside that space, everything else feels more manageable. You are not rushing. You are flowing. Discipline teaches you patience. It shows you that good things come, not when you want them, but when you are ready for them. And readiness is built slowly, one morning at a time. You learn to delay gratification. You learn to say no to what does not serve your bigger vision. You become more selective with your time, your focus, your energy. That is not restriction. It is wisdom. It is you choosing to live by design, not by accident. And with time, discipline stops feeling like effort. It becomes part of you, like brushing your teeth or locking the door. You no longer fight with yourself to wake up early. It becomes natural, automatic. And in that shift you realize something beautiful. You are free, free from guilt, free from the constant game of catching up, free from that heavy feeling of always being behind. Because you are now ahead. You have done the work before the world even begins to ask for it. Discipline also helps you believe in yourself, not in a loud motivational way, but in a quiet, consistent one. You trust your word. You follow through. You do not need perfect conditions to take action. You've trained yourself to show up no matter what. That belief carries into every area of your life. In work, in relationships, in health. You are no longer hoping for balance. You are creating it. One early morning at a time. And what once felt like restriction becomes your rhythm. What once felt like sacrifice becomes your strength. Waking up early is no longer about proving something. It becomes your gift to yourself. A gift that brings clarity, energy, and focus. You no longer live at the mercy of the clock. You move with your own timing. That is discipline turned into freedom. That is effort turned into flow. That is how you rise not just early, but fully into the life you were meant to lead. Early risers carry a secret weapon that most people overlook. They get more done, and they do it with a calm heart. It is not about rushing through tasks or squeezing in more hours. It is about focus, rhythm, and peace. The quiet morning hours give you space to do what matters without pressure breathing down your neck. You are not competing with noise, notifications, or the chaos that builds as the day unfolds. You are operating from a place of clarity, and that changes everything. There is a sharp difference between being busy and being productive. Most people spend their entire day putting out fires, replying to messages, attending meetings, running errands, and by the time night falls, they are left wondering what they actually achieved. But when you wake up early, your actions are not a reaction, they are a choice. You start with purpose, and that sense of intention carries through the rest of your day. You begin with what truly matters instead of what shouts the loudest. Tasks that usually take hours when you're distracted can take minutes when you are focused. That early part of the day before interruptions kick in is like a mental superpower. You can read faster, write better, plan clearer. It is not because you're more talented, it's because you're less scattered. You are moving in sync with yourself. You are not juggling chaos. You are flowing in control. And here's the thing that surprises many people. Early risers do not just get more done, they get more done with less stress. They're not working harder, they're working smarter. When you handle the most important parts of your day early on, the rest of the day opens up. You have breathing room. You have flexibility. You are not constantly playing catch-up. That space reduces pressure. That space makes room for creativity, presence, and joy. You also make better decisions when you are not rushing. You respond with clarity instead of reacting with emotion. You notice details that others miss. You have time to reflect instead of panic. These small things add up over time, and they set you apart, not because you are extraordinary, but because you are prepared. One of the biggest traps people fall into is believing that being overwhelmed is a sign of productivity. But exhaustion is not a badge of honor. If your success is draining you, it is not success, it is survival. Waking up early flips that script. It allows you to get ahead without burning out. It teaches you that you can win the day without losing your peace. That is a lesson most people never learn because they are too tired to even notice they need it. Having more time in the morning also means you can move at your own pace. You can stretch, you can breathe, you can think. You do not have to sprint from the moment you open your eyes. You are not reacting to the world. You are stepping into it with intention. That shift from chaos to calm makes you more efficient and more grounded. And there's a quiet confidence that comes from knowing you've already accomplished something before the world even starts moving. That first hour sets the tone. That feeling carries through meetings, deadlines, and even difficult moments, because you're not starting from zero. You've already won the first battle. And that win sets off a chain reaction of success. Not just in what you achieve, but in how you feel while achieving it. You are not just ticking off tasks, you are living with rhythm, and that rhythm becomes the heartbeat of a balanced, productive life. Rising before the world gives you something most people never experience, silence that belongs only to you. In those early hours, before the doors open, before the streets fill, before the notifications start buzzing, you are free. Free from expectation, free from comparison, free from the constant noise of the outside world that often tells you who to be, what to do, and how to feel. That quiet space is a powerful kind of freedom, because in that stillness you get to meet the real you. When you wake up early, you step into your day on your own terms. There is no rush, no pressure, no race. You walk, you breathe, you think. You choose how the day begins. And that choice is everything. Most people don't realize it, but how you start your day decides how you handle what comes next. If you begin with peace, you carry peace. If you begin with chaos, you carry tension. Rising early is not about being busy. It is about being prepared. Control is not about having power over everything around you. It is about having power over your response to it. When you rise before the world, you are not thrown into situations blindly. You have time to set your mindset. You have time to read, to plan, to journal, to simply sit and ask yourself how you want to show up today. That mental clarity gives you an edge that is invisible but undeniable. The people who rise early are not always the ones who have more time. They are the ones who use time differently. While others are still chasing sleep, they are chasing growth. While others are snoozing alarms, they are making decisions. Not big ones always, but consistent ones. Small steps, little victories, a quiet workout, a prayer, a page in a book. These things add up, not just in achievements, but in confidence. Because each early start reminds you that you are in charge. There's something beautiful about watching the world wake up while you're already awake. The sky turns light, the birds begin to sing. The air feels new. It reminds you that you are a part of something bigger. And when you are present for those first few moments of the day, the rest of the day feels like a gift, not a burden. You are not playing catch-up, you are not running late. You are ahead, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Most people wake up into the middle of their day, they jump from sleep to stress, from dreams to deadlines. But when you rise early, you create space between sleep and pressure. That space becomes your sanctuary. A sacred time to align your goals with your actions. A time to slow down before the speed begins. A time to decide, not just react. When you rise before the world, you see things clearly. You realize what matters and what doesn't. You make fewer excuses because you feel more in control. You learn to listen to yourself, not the crowd. And over time, that practice builds self-trust. You start believing in your own rhythm, your own voice, your own ability to handle whatever the day throws at you. It is not about perfection. It is not about doing more. It is about doing what matters. When it matters most. The world will always be loud. The responsibilities will always return. But if you can rise before the noise, you will always be one step ahead, not just in time, but in life. And that one step, repeated daily, becomes a path only you can walk. Starting your day with purpose is like setting the tone for a song you are about to sing all day long. If the first note is calm, steady, and strong, the rest of the melody follows that rhythm. When you wake up without a plan, without direction, you begin your day in reaction mode. Everything feels urgent. Everything pulls you in a different direction. But when you begin your day with purpose, you are not reacting to life, you are creating it. Purpose does not have to be something grand. It can be simple. It can be deciding to be kind today. It can be choosing to stay focused. It can be promising yourself that you will finish something you started. The point is, when you begin the morning with intention, you reclaim control. You take back the steering wheel of your life. And when you do that first thing in the morning, the rest of the day obeys you. The reason most people feel exhausted before the day even ends is not because they do too much, but because they do everything without meaning. They jump from task to task, meeting to meeting, and at the end, they do not feel fulfilled. They just feel drained. But if the day starts with purpose, with a small moment of reflection or direction, the same tasks begin to feel different. The same responsibilities feel lighter. There is clarity in what you are doing and why you are doing it. When you wake up and check your phone before anything else, your mind gets hijacked by the outside world. You start your day by scrolling through other people's lives, opinions, noise. But when you start your day with purpose, the first voice you listen to is your own. You decide what matters. You decide what deserves your energy. You decide what you will carry and what you will leave behind. That shift might seem small, but over time it shapes your confidence, your focus, and your life. It is like entering a battlefield with armor on instead of running into it half asleep. Your purpose becomes that armor. It protects you from distractions. It helps you say no to what does not serve you. It makes your yeses more powerful. It gives you a reason to stay grounded when the day tries to shake you. There is also a kind of peace that comes from doing things with intention. Even if the task is small, even if it is just making your bed, writing your goals, or stretching your body, doing it with purpose makes it feel meaningful. You are not just going through the motions. You are choosing to do it, and that choice brings power. It builds momentum. That momentum carries you through harder tasks later in the day, because you already proved to yourself that you can lead your time, not just chase it. You do not have to have everything figured out. You do not need a perfect morning routine. You just need to wake up and ask yourself one question: what matters most today? What is one thing I want to feel, complete, or create? That question is the compass. It does not give you the full map, but it points you in the right direction. When your day starts with that clarity, even the interruptions and challenges feel manageable. You are not lost in the noise. You are anchored in your reason. You are not just surviving the day. You are living it on your terms. And that feeling, that quiet confidence, is what transforms average days into meaningful ones. That is how a purposeful morning leads to a powerful life. Because everything you are becoming starts with how you begin. There is something incredibly powerful about emotional strength that grows in silence. The early morning is not just a time for planning or productivity. It is a time when your emotions find space to settle, before the world starts shouting its expectations, before people ask for your energy, before the weight of responsibilities lands on your shoulders. You have a chance to just be. That stillness is not empty. It is full of answers. It gives you room to process feelings you ignored the day before. It allows you to release what you were carrying and prepare for what lies ahead. Waking up early creates a buffer between your inner world and the outer noise. You are not jumping straight into drama, comparison, or pressure. You are giving yourself time to check in, to ask yourself how you are really feeling. That moment of self-awareness is often missing in the rush of daily life. But in the quiet of the morning, there is no distraction big enough to drown out your truth. You are forced to meet yourself where you are, without judgment, without pretending. And when you face your emotions honestly, you begin to build resilience. You are not just pushing pain aside, you are working through it, slowly, gently, at your own pace. That habit of facing your emotions each morning, even in small ways, builds emotional muscle. You are no longer afraid of feeling things. You are no longer running from discomfort. You are learning to carry it with grace. That is where emotional strength begins. Not in ignoring the hard stuff, but in learning how to sit with it. Many people think strength means being unaffected, being tough, being cold. But real strength is soft. It is grounded. It knows how to cry and still move forward. It knows how to break and still believe in healing. When you wake up early, you give yourself a sacred space to practice that kind of strength. You breathe deeply, and in that breath, you forgive yourself. You journal, and in that space you understand your patterns. You pray or meditate, and in that quiet connection you find peace that does not depend on circumstances. That peace becomes your armor. Not a hard shell, but a calm energy that protects your heart throughout the day. You respond to challenges with steadiness. You face people with kindness, even when they are not kind. You make choices that align with your values instead of reacting from emotion. And all of this starts with the way you treat yourself in the morning. With gentleness, with patience, with love. Emotional strength also means knowing when to rest, when to pause, when to say no. The early hours teach you that rest is not laziness. Reflection is not weakness. Silence is not emptiness. These moments are powerful because they remind you that your worth is not measured by how much you do, but by how well you know yourself. When you begin your day from that place of self-respect, your entire energy changes. You are no longer seeking approval. You are no longer over-explaining or over-giving. You are steady. You are whole. Each morning becomes a ritual of returning to yourself, of remembering what matters, of setting the emotional tone before anything else can shift it. And when you make that a habit, you notice that your reactions become wiser. Your relationships grow healthier. Your ability to face stress improves. Not because life becomes easier, but because you become stronger from within. That strength is not loud, but it is unshakable. It moves with you, through everything you face, and it starts with the choice to rise early, and give your emotions the space they deserve. Waking up early teaches you to keep promises to yourself. It is a small act, but it holds big meaning. Every time you rise before your comfort tells you to stay in bed, you are proving something. Not to the world, but to yourself. You are showing up when no one else is watching. You are honoring a decision you made in a moment of clarity. And that act builds something deeper than motivation. It builds trust. Self-trust is not built in big achievements. It is built in the little quiet choices you make every day, the ones that no one sees. The ones that do not bring applause, like choosing to wake up early when the bed feels warm, like choosing a morning walk instead of more sleep. These decisions are simple, but they carry weight, because every time you keep that promise, your mind registers it. It whispers back to you, I can rely on you. You do what you say, you're someone I can count on. Confidence is not about feeling perfect all the time. It is about believing you can handle things. That belief grows from showing up consistently, and nothing trains consistency like the habit of waking up early. It pushes you to move before you are ready, to act before you feel like it, and to commit even when no one is holding you accountable. That discipline becomes your strength. It becomes a quiet kind of power that stays with you even when the world gets loud. Most people wait to feel ready before they take action. But those who rise early understand something different. They understand that action creates readiness, that by doing the thing you promised yourself, even when it is hard, you begin to feel stronger. That strength shows up in everything else you do, in how you speak, how you carry yourself, how you respond to challenges. Because you are no longer unsure of your ability to follow through. You've tested it every morning. You've earned your own respect. There's also something healing about early mornings. They remind you that you are not your past, that every day you get a fresh start. And when you use that start with intention, when you move with purpose, it helps you rewrite the story you tell yourself. You stop seeing yourself as someone who always quits, always delays, always doubts. You begin to see yourself as someone who decides, someone who leads, someone who rises. Keeping your word to yourself in the morning makes it easier to keep your word throughout the day. It improves how you show up in relationships, in work, in moments of stress. Because if you can trust yourself, you do not need approval to move forward. You do not need constant reminders to stay focused. Your own example becomes your motivation, and that makes you unshakable. This trust also brings peace. You no longer live in guilt for what you did not do. You no longer carry the weight of broken promises. There is a quiet joy in knowing that you did what you said you would. That joy builds resilience. Because even on hard days you know you can depend on yourself. That's a kind of security the world cannot give you. It is internal. It is real. It is earned. Waking up early is not about being better than others. It is about being better than the version of you who always made excuses. It is about proving to that voice in your head that says just 5 more minutes that you are stronger than your comfort. That proof becomes a foundation, and that foundation becomes confidence that does not waver, even when everything else does.